For the computer case, I chose the Fractal Define 7. This is an ATX case, but it does have the option for multiple motherboard sizes in it. I felt that this would be a good compromise between noise deadening and airflow. There are other cases that really focus on airflow, and I wanted something that was a really good balance, given that it is sitting right next to me in the office here. Also, it's got plenty of capacity to increase the airflow for cooling. You can get up to 940 millimeter fans here or multiple radiators in the case. So there's just a ton of option there for cooling. There's also massive room for storage. If you wanted to turn this into kind of a server or something with just a ton of hard drive space for creating and storing, you can absolutely do that. It does have a built-in fan hub as well for 3 4-pin PWM fans and 6 3-pin fans. This isn't a feature that I'm planning to use though, because the current motherboard that I chose will have plenty of chassis fan headers. This guy also has a really clean look with the dark tinted glass panel. So, I mean, I will have RGB in this so you'll be able to see through it, but it's not a clear panel and it's not a light tint, so it's definitely what I wanted. The case itself, super high build quality, very impressive. Also, just a ton of space inside. This has a large interior volume. Might be overkill for what I'm putting into it, but if you're looking at future options, whether or not you wanted to add additional storage, this case will give you those options. It does have lots of modularity, plenty of options to speed up your building, as well as future upgrades. And it does come with 3 included 140 millimeter fans. These spin at 1000 RPM. These are 3-pin fractal dynamic fans that are very, very quiet at under 19 decibels, and I am planning to add in additional fans here. For the motherboard, I chose the Asus ProArt Z790 Creator. This motherboard had a lot of options that really attracted me to it. It can overclock DDR5 RAM up to 7200 megahertz. So while I'm only choosing RAM at this point that will go up to 6000, it'll be there for future upgrades. It also has an Aura RGB header and 3 addressable Gen 2 RGB headers for lighting, and I'll be using most of those in this build. It also has Asus Aura for control of peripheral lighting. It also has plenty of options for fast networking, from Wi-Fi 6E to both 10 and 2.5 gigabit per second connections. Now, most people don't have those connections in their houses right now, but for future peripherals, you will be able to get that, or you'll be able to upgrade home networks with Ethernet to those speeds later. It also has plenty of USB connections, including USB-C as well as Thunderbolt. It has 2 PCIe 5.0 expansion slots for future GPU upgrades. I'm only planning to use one at this point for my RTX 3080. One of the biggest features, though, for me was it has 4 PCIe M2 slots for onboard storage, and I'll be filling it up with 3 of those at this point. On the software side, it has AI overclocking profiles as well as AI cooling profiles to manage the fans. So I'm really interested in getting into that just to make sure that I've got a very quiet fan profile when I'm creating. Moving on to the processor, I chose the Intel Core i9 13900K processor. This has an integrated graphics chip as well if you need it, if you ever need to troubleshoot without a GPU in the system. This is a 3 gigahertz core speed, 24 cores and 32 threads, so just an absolute monster for single and multitasking, as I'll be planning to use it for both gaming and productivity. It's also overclockable up to 5.8 gigahertz, and it can support DDR5 RAM at 5600 megahertz. The RAM that we've paired it with will be able to overclock to 6000 megahertz, and this is powerful enough to not need upgrading for quite a long time. Next up is the RAM. I chose Kingston Fury Beast RAM, 64 gigabytes of it. This is a fast RAM, DDR5 at 6000 megahertz using the XMP 3.0 profile. I chose 64 gigabytes to make sure that I didn't have any memory bottlenecks. For gaming, I'm looking at Hogwarts Legacy, or for productivity, for instance, editing videos or editing photos. It also has RGB lighting that's going to be able to sync with the Asus Aura software, so it should be able to pull together nicely with the rest of the case lighting. For storage, I chose the WD Black SN850X. This is an NVMe M2 SSD. Chose 3 of them at 2 terabyte sizes. These are super fast drives. I've had them in a previous build before, up to 7300 megabytes per second read speed, 6600 megabytes per second write speed. So super fast for anything productivity or gaming related. Very, very fast for loading games. You'll see near instantaneous loads with these drives, especially if you put them into a game mode, which it has. And also for the motherboard that I've chosen, great to pair with it for onboard storage because it has multiple NVMe M2 drives. For the cooler, I chose the Asus Republic of Gamers STRIX LC2. It's an all-in-one liquid CPU cooler. Some of the key features for me were addressable RGB lighting on the fans and the pump cover. It also has Aura sync control, so it'll tie in with the Asus Aura software. It also has 3 PWM controlled 120mm fans with relatively high airflow at 81 CFM, and it should be relatively quiet at under 38 decibels. This guy is 360mm long, so with those 3 fans, should give plenty of cooling for my CPU. So for additional case fans, I chose the Fractal Aspect 14 RGB. These are a PWM fan, and this is a 3-pack. The reason why I chose these fans was 140mm would fit perfectly in the case, larger than 120mm. These are also a 1700 RPM fan, 4 pins, completely adjustable with PWM, also controllable via Aura, so they have addressable RGBs, and they should be very quiet at under 36 dB with a high airflow at around 78 CFM. For the power supply, I chose the Corsair RME series 1000 watt. This is a fully modular PSU, so you get a much cleaner compartment at the bottom of the case, as you can just choose what cables you need to install for your build. It also has a 0 RPM mode for near silent operation at lower loads, which will be great for the relatively low noise build that I'm going for here. It also has a terrific warranty at 7 years, so I really won't need to be worrying about this component failing when it's in warranty for quite a long time.